Welcome back to the podcast today and today's episode with me, Johnny Pardo. Today, I welcome my friend Michael Short onto the show, where we're going to be talking about many things. We're going to be talking about self esteem, we're going to be talking about overcoming abuse, we're going to be talking about overcoming challenges, and much more. So, Michael and I will dive into the conversation in a moment. I'm just going to share a little bit about Michael before we dive in. So, Michael is a victim of childhood sexual abuse and sex trafficking. Michael has overcome cognitive and learning challenges, as well as moving through a dependency on drugs and alcohol. Michael has chosen a life now of service, first working through with body mind therapy, through healing, touch, and massage, as well as other modalities in the healing arts, now moving into transformational coaching. Michael believes that if there is one person suffering in this world, somewhere inside of us all, we can, so of us, we are all suffering. So he is trying to make a mission to help people out there. So, Michael, welcome to the show. I appreciate your willingness to come on. And I know you're wanting to make a big difference in the world and kind of use what you've gone through to help other people, which is very admirable. Could you tell us a little bit about, first of all, what is body mind therapy and how that's maybe been useful for you?
Well, first of all, thanks, Johnny, for having me on the show today. Body mind therapy is basically massage therapy.
Mm,
It's rooted in Chinese medicine, so you cannot treat the body without treating the mind.
mm,
The body muscle tissues are made up of engrams, and those engrams have memory. So if you like, say, you skin your knee when you're running down the road, and you just kind of, your dad's like, get up, shake it off. Well, that piece of your body has a memory of that. And sometimes you might experience pain later in life and say, oh, yeah, my knee hurts. So when we're doing massage therapy and we connect the trauma that's stored in the body with the actual action, that's body mind therapy. So a lot of times people can have an emotional release when massaging areas of trauma that never really got
mm,
properly healed.
mm. Okay, no, that's yeah, we it's been interesting. I've been having lots of conversations with people recently about the body and the mind because there's a lot of things on sort of like mindset out there, but it's been really interesting to hear how going into the body for lots of people I've spoken to and professionals who are helping people with this have said how much going into the body has been really benefiting them. Are there any other ways that you found useful to kind of like work with the body as well as sort of like massage therapy out of interest?
Well, funny you should ask. So with body mind therapy, you have to be very aware of what people are, even with massage therapy, and
Mm,
you might notice a twitch or some kind of
mm,
movement in the body, and that triggers a memory. And then so when you connect the memory to the physical pain in the body, that's when you get a real release there.
okay. So just being able to sort of like connect like some kind of feeling in the body to like some kind of memory, and that's where the kind of like release comes up from. Um, wow, powerful. Okay, so that's been really beneficial for you. So for you, obviously you've worked for a lot of things in your life. How is in personal growth? I know we talk a lot about like patterns and beliefs and things like that. How have has that really helped you work through some of the old patterns? Has there been other techniques you've used to work through like patterns and beliefs as well?
Yes, I'm glad you asked. I've been working with plant medicine for about the past 8 years.
Oh, okay, cool.
And there's always been this unsettling feeling in me. And usually those feelings come from a traumatic event
Mm,
that we either repress or we were unaware of. So when I was a kid, I went to a boarding school that was specialized for children with learning and cognitive disabilities. Unfortunately, it was a horrible place, and the headmaster of the school not only subjected the kids to corporal punishment, but to sexual molestation. And so I had these subconscious self-sabotaging behaviors and patterns that
mm,
would be considered destructive. and I just didn't really know why things weren't clicking for me. So, working through plant medicine over the past 8 years, about 4 years ago, I uncovered the core issue, the repressed memories of being sexually abused on these. We would go in the summertime to trips to Europe,
Mm,
and at that time, we were often drugged and forced to do things that children should never really have to go through. Once I identified that core issue, I started working with Tony Robbins. And
mm,
Tony Robbins taught me about the patterns and the stories that we tell ourselves that keep us stuck in our pain or prevent us from moving forward. Now, being aware of those patterns and where those stories come from, now I can change the way I feel about those stories. Now I can begin to replace old destructive patterns with new healthy patterns. And that's why I've chosen and now I'm a transformational coach.
mm, and I know you've been in the Tony Robbins world and kind of like working through some of those patterns and beliefs. Is this something you have to like visit them like regularly? Is it something you kind of felt once you recognized them, it was kind of like, oh, I got the breakthrough, I've changed my beliefs. Yeah, just be interesting to hear a little bit.
You know, the funny thing working with Tony is if you're open and you're ready to receive feedback, you can make a change like that.
Mm,
That being said, there's a lot of people that avoid their stuff. I was at the right place at the right time.
mm,
And in the course of an hour or even maybe a 5 day event, he can really help people transform and make major breakthroughs and make the connection that we're not broken. We just have a bad story. We have wrong programming. So we kind of have to reprogram our mind, our belief systems, the way we think, the way we operate. And there are certain things that you can do to change those. So he says story, state, strategy, or it's actually state, story, strategy.
mm,
If you're in a low vibrating state, the first thing to do is to get up and move your body around
mm,
because you're not going to change anything unless you change your physiology first. And once you change your physiology, you can start to change the way you think. And when you change the way you think, you can change your story, how you feel about something. Instead of being a victim of childhood sexual abuse, I'm a victor. I've overcome it. I didn't
mm,
become an abuser. You know, I didn't let it destroy me. It distracted me for a long time. I didn't know why. And then I create that new story of where I want to be. Who do I really see myself as? So they're very powerful tools that could work in a very quick time, depending on your commitment to change.
mm. I like what you said about this, yeah, the state, the story, the strategy. And I remember one thing Tony says is a lot of us, and it really hit home when he said it, and it's something I have to catch myself out with now, like now and then. A lot of us go to the strategy first, and it's like, if I do this, then I'll get a change in like my story and then I'll feel better. And I always remember he said it's the other way round. You want to get in that state first and then change the way you're thinking, and then your actions are going to be a lot more effective, or the strategy is going to come to you a bit more in flow. Yeah, that was a powerful one for me, Michael. I think
Yeah,
as well. Yeah.
that's correct. And Tony uses an analogy of baking a cake.
Mm,
And if you bake a cake and you put the ingredients in the wrong order, you're not going to get a very good cake. So it's a matter of
mm,
doing the steps in a process that's actually going to work.
mm. Yeah, and he gives quite a lot of tools and like processes and that. So I'm glad it's really helped you with the kind of like the shifting the beliefs as well and working through that. I want to kind of just touch on the plant medicine you did as well, which yeah, I mean I've done it once, but it's like I know lots of people like talking about it at the moment. Yeah, how did that really help you? Was it kind of, did that give you more of a realization? Did that give you more of an awareness? Yeah, just be interesting to know
Well,
how that helped
it's
you.
it's a very good question. And it's the basis of my transformational coaching practice. So if you think about an onion and you're
Mm,
peeling off the layers of the onion, when you're dealing with emotions, trauma, events that happen in your life that either you've suppressed or they're really not, you're unaware in your consciousness. I started out with a medicine called rapé, and rapé it's from the Amazon jungle. It's a mixture of herbs and spices that you actually, through a ceremony, you inhale it through your nose. And what it happens is it detoxifies the body. but it doesn't just detoxify the body on a physical level where there's a lot of poisons and toxins we put in our bodies from the foods that we eat, but it also detoxifies the body from stored up and repressed emotions.
Oh wow.
So from there, I moved on to ayahuasca, which is
Yeah,
getting a lot of notoriety right now. And ayahuasca also works on the same level, but it's a much more intense medicine. So if you've ever seen the movie The Matrix,
mm,
it's like Neo unplugging from the Matrix.
yeah,
And
I've done
once
it.
you
Yeah.
take that pill, you can't unsee what you've seen. There's no going back. It
Mm,
literally changes your whole perspective of the world, the view of yourself, what you put into your body, what you listen to, who you surround yourself with. And that was really the catalyst that got me into peeling off those layers of trauma that body armor had been built on me for years, and I thought everything was fine. I had good friends, we partied, we had, the best weed, all those things that you think are cool. And then when I started to do this work, the
mm,
trauma started releasing. And I didn't really realize the trauma was there. I knew that I was out of balance. I was dealing with depression. I was dealing with, issues of self-worth and really finding my place in the world. And ayahuasca opened up those doors for me. It
mm,
started to heal my body. And it's a ceremony. It's not, it's trending and everybody goes, oh, it's cool. I've done ayahuasca. It's a much more powerful medicine than that. And you have to go into ceremony with preparation and respect for the medicine. And if you do that, you're going to have a major transformation. I've not only sat in medicine circles with other adults, primarily women who had been sexually abused as children, but also
mm,
combat vets, people trying to beat opiate addictions. It's really a medicine that works with your body personally and heals you on not just a physical level, but a mental level. And the medicine works in a way that it knows what you need the most.
mm, it's a powerful, yeah, it's a powerful medicine. I've yeah gone through it myself as well, and the kind of like sometimes the stuff you don't want to see, but you need to see. I felt kind of from when I went through it, and it's kind of, but it was almost when you said the Matrix, that totally resonated. It's like you're seeing double when you're seeing or seeing like the real stuff. You're seeing stuff behind the doors. So yeah, and then having these realizations. So yeah, it's again, it sounds like that was another powerful tool to get into the body for you that you've been doing, and then with the Tony work as well. That's been like super powerful for you and being in that world. Um, I know you volunteer in the Tony world, and I know you're out there to like help more people. You're in like part of Tony's like the crew and things like that. I think so. For you, I know you want to help a lot of people. How's that kind of benefited you? Because often I know I've been like caught in my own head, but you seem like a man who wants to help people, and I just wondered how that's like benefited you on your journey.
Well, I mean, it really comes down to leadership.
Mm,
And what leaders do is they are not afraid to go first. They're
mm,
not afraid to be vulnerable, and they're not afraid to share their story. And sometimes those stories are shameful, they're embarrassing, they're
mm,
difficult. We don't want to own our stuff because it's hard to own that stuff. But being able to make myself vulnerable and to share my story with people in the Tony world and other, people I work with, it really gets them to be comfortable. Wow, this stuff happened to me too. You know, I have a lot of people who have opened up to me in ways that they've never opened up to people before
wow.
because I wasn't afraid to share my story, about the abuse and the things that I went through and the things that I've overcome. So when you show up, basically, you're showing up for yourself and you're showing up as the best version of yourself. And if you're telling your truth, then you're going to be able to help others. And really helping others really starts with helping yourself.
Mm, wow. Yeah. Leaders go first. I think that's Tony or someone else very similar said that. Like they just, sharing your story, and that can be scary, but it's a true act of courage in my view. So yeah, that's amazing. You touched on I kind of touched on your introduction that before you got it, you went like deeper into this journey, did the plant medicine, did the Tony stuff. There was a bit of usage of like alcohol and drugs that you'd mentioned, and I know lots of people that I know of and like hear of kind of get caught on those things, or maybe some other kind of uh, slightly more addictions, or maybe it is an addiction, maybe it's just a bit of a distraction. But yeah, like for you, what helped you to kind of like move away from those things? I mean, was it the plant medicine, or was it like something that made you just move away from those things, something else?
Well, the plant medicine was definitely a major
Mm,
catalyst in I wouldn't say living a life of sobriety, but abstinence,
mm.
because, I enjoy a drink once in a while,
Yeah, yeah, of course.
and I can drink responsibly, but I find that I don't need it.
Mm,
With the alcoholism, all my bad decisions were made on when I was drinking.
mm,
I've gotten in a little bit of trouble over the years, and you kind of grow up and say, hey, I don't want to go down that road anymore. Also, witnessing other people in your life, seeing how alcohol specifically and to some degree other drugs really cause the deterioration of people. And they're just, now you're having babbling conversations. Now you're in the same bars with the same people selling the same stories, listening to the same music. And it's like 20 years later, and it just was repetitive cycle where I wasn't growing. I wasn't feeling stimulated. I wasn't feeling inspired. I wouldn't say I have an addictive personality, but when I started with drugs and alcohol very young, I was self-medicating because I had all these repressed feelings and
mm.
emotions from being abused, and to some degree neglect from my parents, because there was nobody there to raise me. I had to raise myself. We were in pubs at 9 years old in Europe drinking.
Mm.
So that definitely
Wow.
has a negative long-term effect on your personal development as a child. So little by little, all these pieces started to come together, and what really woke me up was unplugging from the matrix with ayahuasca.
Mm. And then into the Tony rolled, and then sort of like sharing your story moving forward with that. Um,
Yeah, it's funny, they say when the student is ready, the teacher will come. So now I got to the core issues. I was ready to surrender this lifestyle that wasn't really treating me well. And I actually worked an event where Tony was speaking. And I went in the room and I sat down. And of course, if you know anything about Tony, it's Tony time. So he has his own time schedule. So the
he
show had
does.
gone way past the time it was scheduled to end. So I was in there listening to him for about 3.5 hours. And a lot of the things that he said resonated with the things that I were saying to myself. But this is the transformation that helped me make my major breakthrough at Date with Destiny about 3 years ago, which is coming up in about a week, because I realized that I was in alignment with the things that he was saying, but I wasn't putting them into practice. So here comes my coach, and my coach gave me practical applications, how to become aware of those patterns, how to break those patterns, giving me healthy habits to replace those patterns with. And it was just like a sponge to water. And I just couldn't get enough of it quicker. And like I said, when you're open and you're ready, you can change like that in an instant. So it's been very rewarding. I'm actually getting ready next week to go crew Date with Destiny for the second time in West Palm Beach next week.
Oh, amazing! No, have a great time. It was certainly a powerful event for myself when I did Date of Destiny as well. Um, I've never heard anyone say anything bad about it, to be honest. So there
Yeah,
always
it's
might be one, but yeah, it's a powerful event.
fantastic, and it's just great to be there. And you're energetically holding space for people. You're
Mm.
guiding them through their breakthroughs. You know, it's very powerful when you know that all these people, all the staff, the crew, everybody that makes that event so magical and so special are really there to serve you, to help you release the pain, to release the blockage, to release the things that are preventing you from moving forward in your life. So it's my favorite of all the events that he does.
Mm. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, probably my favorite one out of all the ones as well. So no, I'm glad you're serving people in that capacity as well and being able to help them through their breakthroughs. Michael, I wanted to touch on like if you've got like do you have any habits that are like kind of like non-negotiables or very like or maybe even certainly very consistent for you that you found? I mean, we're all different. We all find like different modalities, but I'm just curious if there's anything you like to do on a regular basis that really helps ground you or really helps support you.
Well, I gotta say that I'm somebody, I'm a man in motion. I'm constantly in flux.
Mm,
And just like anybody else, I go through my bouts of depression. I have a little seasonal disorder around
sure.
the holidays. So I try to adhere to a regular routine or a ritual, but I ebb and flow through it. I have my ups and downs. But juicing is one of the things that I think are vital, like celery juice every day in the morning, sitting in quiet. I don't necessarily practice a conscious meditation every day, but I make sure that I sit in quiet, which is a form of meditation. I just don't do it structurally. And the
Mm.
other thing I try to do is also incorporate some daily activity, get out in nature, go for a walk, go for the gym, just get out of my space, get out of my head for a minute. So those are some of the things that are things that I incorporate into my daily routine.
That's great. No, I always love to hear what people are doing. The juicing one, yeah, I haven't done celery juice admittedly for a while, but I remember the energy you can get for it and the sort of like the vitality can feel is a really powerful one. And I'm with you on the walking as well. I like to walk in silence. It's like not using my phone for that time as well. It's like don't need information. I need to connect with my my thoughts and what's going to be like sent to me, whether that's like energetically or coming from outside me. Like to just get those downloads and things like that without forcing them. So I'm with you
Yeah,
on
that's
the
perfect.
nature walk, definitely. Yeah.
And I guess one other thing I do that might be helpful for people is I listen to harmonic frequencies, and
Mm,
sometimes I'll play them before I go to bed, just be like 432 hertz or different frequencies
mm.
that help ground me, help heal me. The frequencies are very powerful and they can be very helpful. They can be downloaded on YouTube. It doesn't really cost you anything. So I know sometimes when people are looking for alternative things to do, money sometimes becomes a factor. So that's something that you can do that really doesn't cost anything.
Yeah, there's some great stuff on YouTube. No, thanks for the recommendation on that. And yeah, also thank you for sharing. Obviously, that there are stages when you have your ups and downs. I mean, I do too. I mean, it's like someone who seems appearing happy all the time. I kind of like. Sometimes, especially with social media, it's always perceived someone's got like the perfect life. So being open and honest like that, I think is really key. That we do have our ups and downs, and yeah, you know, you might go through like a challenging spell. So it's great that you've got like a routine in place with some of those things there as well. And I try and do the same as well when it's maybe a tougher time. So yeah, Michael, like one thing I just kind of wanted to like really finish on was like men and kind of like reaching out and speaking out because I know it's kind of something that's talked about in society and it's something I struggle with the opening up or reaching out for support. You're very boldly and courageously sharing everything today, and I know you've been doing that a lot. You know, you're in the Tony world, but yeah, for the man who's perhaps, or even the individual who's just like stuck and they feel trapped in themselves, they feel a bit isolated on their own. Have you got any guidance for them?
Well, I mean, get out there and talk to other men. I know it's hard as men. Most of
Mm,
us are closed up and we're taught to have this tough exterior and then we're not supposed to show our emotions. But that's really the opposite of what the truth is.
mm,
Granted, as a man, we have a job to protect and to serve, and that is to protect and serve our women, our families, our children, and our community, and even our country to a larger extent. But that being said, you have to be in touch with your emotions and don't be afraid to show them. Now, there's certain times you don't want to be blubbering and crying in front of your woman. You don't want to show a sign of weakness that way, but it's okay around your brothers. And I would say get into a good men's group,
yeah.
get at least one buddy or a coach or somebody that you can talk to, and you can tap into these things because we're meant to be tough, but we're also meant to not to be tough. There's a gentle side to the man that really needs to take place. And you really need to stop making half-assed excuses for poor behavior, poor language. Women are not bitches and hoes to go out and have a good time with. There are mothers, there are grandmothers, there are daughters, there are sisters, and they should be treated as goddesses. They should be treated with love and respect. And if you don't have respect for yourself, then you're not going to respect any relationship. And then that's the foundation. So having a good relationship means having a good relationship with yourself. And in order to do that, you have to be brutally honest with yourself. You have to face your shit. You have to look at yourself in the mirror. And I don't need to know your problems. The world doesn't need to know your problems. Your coach doesn't need to know your problems. Your priest doesn't need to know your problems. You know what your problems are. You know the areas that you need improvement, and you know the areas that you're being half-assed in. And all you have to do is be truthful to yourself and every day show up a little bit better than the day before.
Mm, absolutely. It starts with that self honesty that and loving yourself. And yeah, I like what you said about finding a good men's group as well. I've certainly found that really powerful, where the other guys can hold the space for you when you're maybe like releasing some emotions, and then you can hold the space for them. It's a beautiful kind of, even in those men's groups, I find, from you switching from your masculine to the feminine. So there's like releasing that emotions and then holding that structure and that foundation, and then like reversing the roles, and it can be really, really beneficial. So no, thank you for that, Michael, because I know there's a lot of people out there who are struggling to reach out, and that's a really powerful bit of guidance you've given us.
And I know there's a lot of people confused about sexuality, but we are men, and men also have a feminine side to them. Now, I'm not saying
Mm,
go dress up in dresses. I mean, if that's your thing, go ahead. But for men, it's okay to get in touch with your feminine side. For me, I would just say balance it.
mm. Yeah, certainly. I've been guilty of completely neglecting it, and then really builds up those emotions. Whilst when I can sit and release it, even myself, or now and then, like a men's group, it's been really powerful. But then holding, and it allows me to hold structure and stability for other people in my life, and have that you know the healthy masculine, because there can be a toxic masculine side to us as well, I
Of course.
believe. So yeah, no, that's powerful. Yeah, dead right. I always like to emphasize that when I've talked about it. Like there's a masculine and feminine in all of us, both whatever gender you identify as. So there's masculine and feminine in all of us. But yeah, getting that balance. But yeah, Michael, really appreciate everything you've shared today. Before we sort of round up, I just wanted to ask you, where can the listener find you if they want to find out a little bit more about your work, your transformational coaching, the projects you got going on at the moment, and then maybe if there's a final point you want to leave us with, or something you want to recap from today, that would be amazing as well.
Sure. So I'll say that I'm in the process of developing my website for transformational coaching. So
Mm,
that's not up and running just yet. But if anybody wants to get a hold of me, they can contact me at my email, which is Mike Shaw
mm,
808 at gmail.com. And I'm happy to open up a dialogue or entertain the possibilities of working with them
mm.
on a coaching level. If you're in the Colorado Springs area, I'm completebalancemassage.com, and you could come and book a body mind session with me. And I also have a passion project where we're donating to organizations like Feeding America, Operation Underground Railroad, Wounded Warrior Project, and also the Tony Robbins Foundation. And that's positivemessagesusa.com. They're little mini bumper stickers that you can put around your computer or places that you can see them that basically give you a little boost. It's kind of like neuro programming,
Yeah.
because when I'm looking here on my computer, it says, "You've got this. You are a powerful creator. Be the source. We are here to give. You're not alone." And even though every day I'm not reading those words, they're registering in my brain. And I developed this project basically to help me overcome depression and to get motivation. It works so well that I designed these sticker packs to help people do the same. So check it out. We're helping a lot of people with donations from the proceeds of the sticker packs. So it'd be really awesome if you guys wanted to check that out and get involved with that.
I mean,
Um, as we wrap up today, I would leave people with one final thought, and that is we have all been in the shit at one point or another. We've all been down. We've all made mistakes. We've all done things that we are not proud of. We've all been hurt. We're all suffering in some way. And as you mentioned at the opener, my personal belief is that if there is one person suffering on this planet, there is a piece of us also suffering because we are co-creating this experience together. And what the general population believes,
Mm,
we manifest into reality. So, in order to change the world that we want to see, I think Gandhi said it be the change that you want to see in the world.
mm,
And as you're going through this process of awakening, as you're going through this process of ascension to a higher level of consciousness, from what I believe is third dimensional thinking, which is fear based, to fifth dimensional thinking, which is unconditional love, Christ consciousness, Buddha enlightenment, realize that we've all been there at some point. You may be alone in the moment, but you're not alone in the journey. So don't be afraid to face yourself and work through those things. And if you're having difficulty, just reach out to somebody.
mm. I love that. That's some great points to leave us with. Yeah, because we're all human beings at the end of the day. So that's beautiful. So thank you, Michael, once again for coming on the show today. Appreciate you.
Thank you, Johnny. It was my pleasure to be here.
Of course. So that concludes our episode for today. And remember to lead with your heart and not with fear.